MVP. Goal swung, right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb in the first. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball down the line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field, way back there. Shot again. Corey Seager does it again. It's Texas Rangers win the World Series. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on a Wednesday as the winter meetings conclude. Got a packed show, lot to talk about. Rangers actually make a couple additional moves after we got off late last night to celebrate Nate Eovaldi getting re-signed. We will go through other possible moves the Rangers may have yet to make. I think there's still a number of things on the table. Want to take a look at the Max Fried offer. Rangers, of course, before signing Nate Eovaldi, put out a pretty sizable offer to now Yankee Max Fried. We're going to talk about what that might mean for the Rangers the rest of the offseason. But first, before we get into any of that, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers during the offseason. Thank you so much for choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Texas Rangers content. Let's get into it. So we have Jake Burger acquired from the Marlins. Man, I definitely think that this move is a solid, steady move for the Rangers, improving the offense. Not a shock. Skip Schumacher, obviously, coming on board the Rangers front office. Skip had a chance to coach Jake Burger when Skip Schumacher was the Marlins manager. So to get Jake Burger, a guy that you figure Skip knows pretty well, a guy that's hit 63 homers in his past two seasons, adds some pop to the Rangers lineup that was lacking last year. And one thing that I really noticed and liked about the Burger acquisition. So the Rangers notoriously last year struggled. I mean struggled to hit the fastball. And so Jake Burger comes in last year sporting the 11th best slugging percentage in the league against the fastball. Jake Burger provides a much needed boost in that area. I mean, teams were just loading up on fastballs against the Rangers, just knowing that it was a weakness last year. So to get Jake Burger, a guy that had the 11th best slugging percentage against the fastball in the league in 2024, huge move for them. You figure Jake is going to be doing some DHing, maybe spelling Nate Lowe and Josh Young occasionally at the corner positions. I got to think that's his role as of right now. I can't say I'm very comfortable getting rid of Nate Lowe and just letting Burger take over from there. I can't say I would love that move at this point. I'd really like to see Jake Burger, Nate Lowe in tandem rather than allowing Jake Burger to just take over the first base position the rest of the way. I think that Burger would be a downgrade in the field. Nate Lowe, a Gold Glover at first base. I think the play would be keep the depth. You've got a guy that can DH for you pretty consistently. You've still got a guy like Josh Smith that's able to play a multitude of positions. You've got some pop in the lineup now, and particularly some pop against the fastball. I think that this is one of those potentially underrated moves. Like the casual fan looks at this and kind of says, Jake Burger, whatever. I think this is a very solid acquisition. It's not going to break the internet, but we're going to look back on it. The pop that he provides, the help that he's giving this lineup against the fastball, I think we are all going to look back on this one late in the season and be really, really pleased with the move. So Jake Burger acquired from the Marlins. Rangers give up Max Acosta. Acosta was, of course, added to the 40-man roster. That was back in November. So they were protecting him from the Rule 5 draft, which happened today, and it was pretty much a big nothing burger. You had the Rangers making no moves. I believe they had one minor leaguer in Double-A that was taken from another team in the Rule, or by another team in the Rule 5 draft, but the Rangers did not add anyone through the Rule 5 draft. Don't know if I'm shocked, but I was hoping maybe there would be a few moves to talk about with that, but wasn't meant to be. Back to the point, Max Acosta, an infielder, a guy that the Rangers had added to the 40-man before the Rule 5. He is traded to the Marlins along with a couple of other minor league arms. I think the general consensus is that the Marlins did not get very much in return for Jake Burger. I don't think that anyone that I follow in the baseball world thinks that the Rangers got blown out of the water. In fact, I think the opposite. I think a lot of people like the move for the Rangers. You've got a guy who's controllable. Jake Burger will be controllable for about 4 years. Again, this is a guy that's hit 63 homers in the past 2 seasons. So I think this is going to be a really good move, controllable bat, and you didn't have to give up anyone crazy in the minor league system. Max Acosta is a good player, but at the same time, you've kind of got a log jam at the middle infield positions. You've got Simeon, you've got Seager, you've also got Josh Smith, you've got Sebastian Walcott coming up. There's a lot of guys that are going to be vying for time up the middle. So I don't think getting rid of an infielder at this point, and an infielder that really wasn't at the top of the Rangers farm system per se. I mean, he wasn't like in the 30s or 40s or 50s, don't get me wrong, but this isn't a guy that was rated above Walcott. This isn't a guy that was highly, highly sought after, prized by other teams in terms of prospects are concerned. I think Max Acosta is going to go on to be a good player in the league, but I don't think that it's a huge loss considering what the Rangers have at those positions up the middle, second base, shortstop, etc. And when you look at the guys who are already on the minor league roster, I think the move makes a lot of sense. You've got a corner guy, a true corner guy now that can spell Nate Lowe, that can spell Josh Young, a guy that Skip Schumacher, who is advising Chris Young in the front office, knows very, very well. I think you got to be pleased with the Jake Burger acquisition overall. What's up, everybody on TikTok? Appreciate y'all tuning in. That is the big lead for today. A couple other moves that we're going to talk through as well. We'll dive into some of the numbers. Jake Burger, what he's done over the past couple of seasons. We'll kind of break him down a little bit more as a player, get into some of the nitty-gritty of his stats. We'll also talk Jacob Webb, an acquisition that the Rangers made today, I believe, or was it late last night? I think it was late last night. Really late last night, Rangers acquire relief pitcher Jacob Webb from the Baltimore Orioles. We'll talk about him a little bit more. And then we'll go through some of the other moves that the Rangers might potentially still make, or the moves that they need to make, at least from my perspective. And we'll take all the questions and comments you guys got as well. I'll take a quick break and do some comments and say what's up to all y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. The comments keep the show fresh. I could go on and on. I think y'all know that, but I like hearing from you guys, seeing what you guys are interested in talking about. Let's get to it. Jake Burger, ready for some barbecue? Yes, sir. Some Texas barbecue. Love it, man. The Jake Burger move, it's great for the lineup, but man, you can sure do a whole lot of that in the marketing department, can't you? There's a lot to unpack there marketing-wise for Jake Burger. Happy with Jake, absolutely. Love that we're making moves. Couldn't agree more. I think that was the big what if, the big question mark. Like, were the Rangers going to even do anything this offseason? I think that was the big thing that I was concerned about. Was it kind of going to be just a ho-hum offseason? Evo walks away. You don't really add any bats. Was it going to be that type of offseason? I mean, was it going to be like, last offseason, if you will, when the Rangers really kind of just stood pat and didn't do a whole lot? They re-signed Travis Jankowski. They did little things like that, but it wasn't anything sexy or notable. It was absolutely blah and meh and just like nothing really exciting, right? They added Robertson and Yates, but at that point, nobody was really, really pumped about Kirby Yates or David Robertson. Look, I don't know. I don't know anybody that had Kirby Yates, David Robertson turning out as well as they did. I think we all knew we needed the bullpen help, but I don't think anybody thought that Kirby Yates, David Robertson were going to turn into the absolute studs that they were for the Rangers this season in 2024. So I think this year, to see you're signing Evo 3 years, $75 million. You're acquiring a very controllable power bat in Jake Burger. You're going out and getting a solid reliever in Jacob Webb. You're getting Kyle Higashioka, a guy that hit 17 homers in 84 games. Like, you've got to be happy with the pop the Rangers have added to the lineup thus far. Keep going here. Appreciate all y'all. See, somebody just followed. A couple of y'all have followed. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. Rusty Greer was underrated. Got to agree with that. Love me some late 90s Rangers teams. 100%. Should the Rangers sign Mike Hunt at second? Got me on that one. But hey, I got to appreciate it. Got to appreciate the effort. Don't even know. Let me sift through the rest of this. Great move. Garcia's back goes dormant too much. Yeah, totally. I mean, totally. Yeah, the bat situation with the Rangers is up in the air right now, is it not? I mean, it's up in the air. You've got Garcia, you've got Heim, you've got a lot of guys that are coming off of a bad year. So who is going to step up, rebound, get better from last year? And then what new guys? I mean, we got Jake Burger, we've got Kyle Higashioka. What new guys are going to step up and really make a difference? So I don't think that you can just stand on what you've been doing the past couple of years with the lineup. I am not personally, and I said this, I'm not satisfied with just Jonah Heim and that's it. And they went and got Kyle Higashioka. I said, I'm not taking a chance that both Evan Carter and Adolis Garcia turn into the 2023 postseason version. I'm going out and I'm being proactive and adding some bats. And it's good to see that so far. Absolutely. Who do I think will be the starting catcher? I think it's going to be Heim. I think Heim will probably be the opening day guy, but they've already come out and said that Higashioka and Heim are going to be getting equal playing time. So I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they're pretty much going to split right down the middle. Let's see. Lowe getting traded. I definitely think that's a possibility. That being said, I don't feel like Lowe is going to get traded unless they add another first baseman. Like, I don't think that they're just going to settle on Jake Burger. Oh, yeah, he can play first. Like, I think if Lowe gets traded, they're going out and they're going to be getting somebody else to play first, whether it's a Cody Bellinger or another one of the first basemen that are out there in the free agent market right now. I mean, there's a few other options. I'll pull up the MLB free agents list and just kind of go through who might be available at first base. But I don't know. Do y'all really want just Jake Burger holding it down the entire season? No Nate Lowe? I just think if you're going to trade Nate Lowe, you got to have somebody better at first base than Jake Burger. I like Jake Burger's bat. I like him as a DH. I really don't know if I want Jake Burger manning first base for me for 162. So Christian Walker available. We remember Christian Walker from the Diamondbacks World Series back in 23. Alonso. We've got Paul Goldschmidt available. Justin Turner, technically, we talked about JT actually on the show last night. Real good friends with Corey Seager. We talked about Justin Turner. I did not realize, I know he was DHing. I didn't realize he made a first base conversion. JT, not really a guy I want to see play first base if Nate Lowe got traded. Let's see. Joey Gallo's available. Do we want to see a Joey Gallo come back here? I love Joey. He was actually one of my favorite Rangers in the 2010s. but I think I'm good. As much as I love Joey, I think the time in Texas is come and gone. Let's see who else. Rizzo's available. Anthony Rizzo, Ty France, Josh Bell, Rowdy Tellez. I mean, look, it's not an extravagant list of first basemen. I mean, Christian Walker, wouldn't mind a guy like that. Don't know how expensive Christian Walker is going to be. I don't think Pete Alonso is going to be coming to Texas, and I don't want to pay for Pete Alonso. I think you got to go and either get somebody via trade, or maybe you can pick up one of these guys, maybe a Rizzo type. We're talking if Nate Lowe gets traded. I don't want to see Jake Berger be everyday first baseman. I like him as a DH. I don't like the idea of going with Berger full time and trading Nate Lowe for some bullpen pieces or whatever they're thinking on that department or on that front. Jacob Webb. Let's talk a little bit about Jacob Webb. So Webb was an Orioles relief pitcher last year. I'll pull up the baseball ref for you guys, and we'll kind of get an idea of what season he had. If I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 3.02 ERA. Yes, here it is, pulling up right now. 3.02 ERA, about 1 on the WAR side of things. Had a couple of saves. I know he had some holds mixed in there. 60 games, 3.02 ERA. Very, very solid numbers. Now, if you were thinking that Jacob Webb, the name, maybe the face looks a little familiar, this is the guy that gave up the grand slam to Mitch Garver back in 2023 when the Rangers were playing at Camden Yards in the ALDS. So I think he also gave up a solo shot to Josh Young, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not in the same game, but the Rangers definitely beat up Jacob Webb in that ALDS. So look, he gets to join the good guys, and he's coming off a good season. He had a 3.02 ERA, 3.27 ERA in 2023. So back-to-back years, low threes with the ERA. He pitched for the Angels a little bit at the beginning of 2023 and pitched for Atlanta as well for 3 seasons from 2019 to 2021. So Jacob Webb, you figure he might be a guy that you can throw in the 7th inning, maybe the 8th inning. I'm thinking 7th inning. I don't know what the stuff is exactly, what kind of repertoire he has. I'll see if I can pull up some of his attributes and some of the pitches that he's got. Let's see. So look, Baseball Savant has Jacob Webb like this. Fastball velocity, 93.5. So low 90s fastball. Not really a guy you want in the late innings per se, but the whiff rate looks like 27.4. So a guy who's maybe a little bit more pitch to contact. He's got a 4-seamer, a sweeper, and a change. Throws the 4-seamer 44% of the time. Throws the sweeper and change 28% of the time each, respectively. So that sweeper and the change is at about 83, 84 miles an hour. And again, about 94 miles an hour on the fastball. So that's Jacob Webb. As I just read that out loud, and I'm looking at this for the first time, reacting to it live, this is a 6th or 7th inning guy to me. I don't know if it's somebody that you want throwing in the late innings. That being said, the velocity isn't always what gets the job done and slams the door shut on teams late in games. But I think with the stuff that he has right now, you're looking at a guy that's probably a 7th inning bridge guy to the 8th and the 9th. We'll see what happens. But that's Jacob Webb. Keep going. See what we got for other comments. Appreciate the follows, by the way. I see a few of y'all have followed since the lineup has started. Zoom Talks. Batting lineup is solid. I do think it would be nice to add maybe one more bat in there. I don't know who it's going to end up being, but it would be nice, I think, to add in one more bat into the mix. Don't know what the Rangers have planned. There's a lot of stuff flying around out there. You kind of got to sift through all that. Lot of stuff flying around, but we're going to try and see what we've got. I'm going to go through some of the different Rangers beat writers, share with you what they're sharing, put my own little spin on it at this point. So let's keep things rolling here. I'll get to more comments and I'll continue to take them along the way. So appreciate all of y'all hanging out, talking a little Rangers baseball. What do I think about Roki? Well, first of all, I don't think any team doesn't like what they see in Roki Sasaki. You're talking about a guy that throws over 100, has a number of nasty pitches. I think the slider I was reading earlier before the show, Roki Sasaki slider, it gets like a 41% whiff rate. So basically, guys are swinging and missing every other pitch with the slider. I don't think that there's a lot of teams that don't want Roki Sasaki. Roki Sasaki, big Yu Darvish fan. So you know that growing up, he was watching some Rangers baseball. Don't know if that helps us. Can't imagine it hurts us. There was some inklings that maybe he's going to want to stay small market. I don't know if you'd consider the Rangers small market, but I tend to. I don't think the Rangers are one of the bigger brands per se in baseball, but they do have one of the biggest payrolls. So I think they go somewhere in between the big and mid market. We'll see. I think Roki Sasaki would do well with Texas. I think the media in Texas is a lot more friendly than other markets. I sometimes have said I wish the Texas Rangers media would be a little bit more heavy hitting with the tough questions. I mean, look, I love all those guys, love following them. I think they put out great content. But look, the Rangers media is not grilling players like they do up in Boston or in New York. That being said, I did read Roki Sasaki interested in a team that has a friendly or a more friendly media. I think that in Japan, there's a lot of criticism that he's coming over to MLB early. So Roki Sasaki under 25. When you're under 25 and you come to the United States, MLB specifically, there are limitations on how much money that you can actually sign for because you're not a bona fide free agent. You're technically considered like an international amateur player. And so what happens, at least for this offseason, I believe $7.5 million is like the max signing bonus he can take. So it's going to be a more affordable deal. I think the Rangers can definitely afford him. It just really is going to come down to his preferences ultimately. We keep going here. Let's see what else we got. Anything. I think Sasaki already agreed to join the Dodgers, but they can't say it yet. I think there's a lot of talk about that, but I don't really believe that that is 100%. So you know that a lot of people are going to be throwing things out for clicks. It's fun to talk about. Like I don't ever get mad at people throwing things out there. It's all fun and speculation, but I think right now everything's open. The Dodgers are going to be in the mix, no doubt. But I think that there is an element of Roki Sasaki maybe wanting to blaze his own trail, maybe go to a little bit of a smaller market. So we'll see what happens. I definitely hope that the Rangers are in the mix at least. If they're able to land him, that is a huge pickup. Huge pickup. And right now, it sounds like, based on the interviews that I've heard with CY and read, Chris Young says Rangers not really in the market for any more starting pitching. We'll see what happens, but sounds like maybe with the exception of Sasaki, Rangers are done in the starting pitching department. So maybe that means they've officially moved on from Andrew Heaney. I know Andrew Heaney's name was mentioned by Chris Young in the exit interviews, being a guy along with Evo that the Rangers really wanted back. Looks like Andrew Heaney may be having to find a team elsewhere, or maybe he holds out for a while and the Rangers are able to bring him back on a cheaper, more team-friendly deal. We'll see, but it sounds like Chris Young is relaying that the Rangers are done for now in the starting pitching market, maybe with the exception of Roki Sasaki. Keep going. Dorothy, go Rangers. Appreciate the comment. Let me check on YouTube, see if we got anything. Natalie, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Sasaki in the bullpen is the rest of the offseason and the next season. I don't know if the bullpen will be finished by opening day per se. I do think with the exception of some smaller bullpen pieces and maybe Sasaki, I don't think that there is going to be a ton of action. Maybe the Rangers make a little splash here and there with the offense and the bullpen, but I don't know how much of a splash it's going to be. I think that the Rangers made the big splash, re-signing Evo. I was actually really encouraged, though. I don't know if y'all saw Max Fried. He signs with the Yankees, 8 years, $218 million. That's what the official offer was that he accepted to go pitch for the Yankees. Rangers, though, before they officially signed Evo, offered Max Fried 7 years, $190 million. That's a pretty sizable offer for a team that was supposedly like playing it safe this offseason. So to me, there's one of two takeaways from the Max Fried offer that the Rangers put out there on the table. Either they are willing to spend more money than what they're letting on, the Texas Rangers front office is, or maybe you go the route of saying, hey, that was the contingency plan if Evo signed elsewhere, and now that Evo is signed, that's kind of off the table. I'm hopeful that the Max Fried offer means that the Rangers are willing to spend more money than what we thought originally. So Max Fried, 8 years, $218 million. Rangers were at 7 years, $190 million, $25 million-ish per year. That's ultimately what Evo ends up getting. You save about $115 million going with Evo over Max Fried. Evo's contract $75 million versus the $190 that Max Fried would have accepted, or could have accepted, I should say. I hope that the Max Fried deal means that the Rangers are willing to pay a little bit more than what we were thinking this offseason. So let's see how the rest of it unfolds. We keep going. So we'll keep on throwing out some rumors and things that we picked up from other beat writers. You guys know Evan Grant, Jamie Newberg, a lot of those guys I love following, get a lot of my information from them. Would definitely recommend, if you love the Rangers, following those two guys. Mitch Keller is a guy that apparently is a name that maybe the Rangers would pursue in relief pitching. The club's ideal return would be a young, quality, major league bat. Who does that sound like? Could that be Nate Lowe? Maybe you trade Nate Lowe for a Mitch Keller. By the way, if you're unfamiliar with Mitch Keller, I don't blame you. I mean, relief pitching, it's not like those guys are getting all of the press in Major League Baseball. But Mitch Keller, 28 years old. He was drafted by the Pirates back in 2014 in the second round, 28 years old. And so in his career, 4.25 ERA, but last year, here's what he was at. 4.25, exactly. 4.21 ERA in 23, 3.91 ERA in 2022. So this is a guy that's sitting right around that 4 ERA spot. Oh, this is actually a starting pitcher. Sorry, I thought this was relief pitcher. Mitch Keller, actually a starting pitcher. I don't know if he spent a little bit of time in the bullpen or not. Doesn't look like. It looks like he's pretty much been a starter, save a few appearances here and there. Don't know if maybe the Rangers are looking to add a little bit more depth there. It sounds like no, but that is a name that continues to get floated around. We'll keep going. I think that with some of the different moves, you kind of do wonder. Guys like Josh Smith, guys like Ezekiel Duran, are you going to see those guys get traded with the Jake Burger acquisition? I think that one of those guys probably will get traded if I had to guess. It just feels like, and I said this almost all summer long, I was really surprised that the Rangers didn't trade Duran at last year's deadline. But with that being said, you look at what's going on right now. When is Ezekiel Duran going to get playing time, save some major injuries? So you've got Josh Smith kind of playing the super utility role. You've got Jake Burger manning down first and third base. You remember that was where Duran got a lot of time. He got a lot of time at third. He got some time at first base. Now you pretty much have to play Duran at short or second, and Josh Smith has got that on lock. And then maybe you can play Duran in the outfield? I just think the writing is kind of on the wall. I think that Duran is probably going to be the first guy out. Josh Smith, potentially Nate Lowe as well. I do agree, JJ. I think those guys are probably on the trading block. Like, at least you're fishing them out there and you're seeing what other teams are willing to give you or what you're willing or what you're able to get back in return for them. I just don't see a path for Zeke Duran, especially, to get a lot of playing time. Like, I can see a guy like Josh Smith getting 400 at bats, spelling Seager at short, spelling Simeon a little bit, maybe getting some outfield time, right? Josh Smith, we know he's not an outfielder by trade, but he has played outfield in the past, and the Rangers could probably make it work. But I think those three guys definitely keep your eye on in potential trade deals as trade chips. Moving forward, we get to more comments here. Try and keep going. Roster is at 40 now. As soon as Evo deal is done, we'll have to make a roster move. Yep, I think that's my point. So what do you sell Duran for? Do you sell Duran and maybe try and get some minor leaguers? Do you try and package Duran with Nate Lowe and maybe really try and get some solid returns at the major league level? I think the possibilities are endless. I really do think, though, that one of those three guys absolutely is getting traded. I don't know if you can straight up release them. I think that you can get value out of them. Nate Lowe's not getting released. Josh Smith isn't getting released. Duran might be a candidate for that. But at the same time, I think that they could get something out of him value-wise in a trade. And hopefully that would be either immediate bullpen help at the big league level, possibly a power bat in the lineup. Like I said, if you trade Nate Lowe, I just don't think you can roll with Jake Berger for 162. I'm not really willing to roll with Jake Berger for 162 games. So, look, Christian Walker's available. I don't think Pete Alonso is going to be an option. Paul Goldschmidt is available. He got a little bit of a down year with the Cardinals. Like, you've got to have somebody. I don't think you can just roll with Berger. That's just my opinion. We keep going. Love to have Tanner Scott. That is a guy I think that's going to be another one well sought after. Tanner Scott, AJ Minter. I think both of those guys you're going to see a lot of teams pursue. Tanner Scott last year, 1.75 ERA, pitched for San Diego and he pitched for Miami. So played for Skip Schumacher. Look, he doesn't control his own destiny here, but would be nice to get a guy like that 100%. AJ Minter would be a guy I would love to have. I know that we all love David Robertson and Kirby Yates. I just am not on the page of re-signing them. I know a lot of people are asking, what's the probability of re-signing Kirby? What's the possibility of re-signing David Robertson? Look, there's no hate. I love those guys. They were absolute studs for us last year. Overperformed every expectation that I had for them, and I think everybody around baseball agrees. But I don't know if I want to invest double-digit millions in Kirby Yates or David Robertson. With the age, you kind of maybe have in your mind that they overperformed a little bit last year, and maybe you'll see a little bit of regression. I would be very hesitant to pull the trigger on a Kirby Yates deal at 10, 11, 12 million a season when you could get AJ Minter, a guy who is quite a bit younger and maybe a little bit more expensive, but I'd much rather have an AJ Minter or a Tanner Scott type versus going out and getting Kirby Yates or David Robertson and running it back with them. I just think there's too many variables. The age, just the fact alone that both of them had maybe not career years, but just very exceptional seasons. I'd be worried about a little bit of regression. I know that they're fan favorites, Kirby Yates especially. Like, that dude was just a freaking beast all last year, locking down the ninth inning. But I will say, I just don't think that they are going to pull that trigger on 12 million for Kirby Yates, 11 million, 10 million. Look, if Aroldis Chapman is getting $10.75 million in free agency, I've got to think Kirby Yates is getting at least that, and David Robertson isn't far behind. So Tanner Scott, AJ Minter, maybe one of those guys. That would be great to have them. Leody Taveras, I would really like to see something happen with Leody. I think we've got to talk about this, and I'll continue to check comments, guys. Trying to read them as quick as I can and bounce around a little bit between YouTube, TikTok, and all the different socials we got running right now. But Leody Taveras and Evan Carter, you got to assume that those two guys are probably going to be the center fielders at this point. Maybe you have Wyatt Langford play center field a little bit here and there, but Evan Carter is a center fielder by trade. He played, I think, over 1,000 innings of center field in the minor leagues. I looked that up last summer at some point. And then you've got Leody Taveras, who's clearly played a lot of center field in his major league career as well. I think the conundrum, though, with Leody Taveras and Evan Carter, you've got two guys that the Rangers really did not ever want to hit against lefties. Like Leody became virtually unhittable against lefties. And then Evan Carter, of course, was a platoon player essentially before his injury in the first couple of months of the season. So you've got two guys that the Rangers showed really don't want to play against lefties. So what are you going to do when there's a lefty? What are you going to do? I'm curious. You've got Langford. You've got Adolis Garcia. I mean, is that a Josh Smith gets a start out in the outfield? Like, I really feel like you've got a little bit of a conundrum there in center field, unless you are really just deciding, whatever. If Carter struggles, he struggles, but Evan Carter is the everyday guy. I don't know. I'd like to see Leody Taveras and Ezekiel Duran. I'd like to see us get something for those guys. I really don't want to continue with the merry-go-round in center field. I'd personally love to see Evan Carter get a chance to be an everyday guy. Those of y'all that have been listening to me for a while, I've said that repeatedly. Look, he's your number one, number two prospect, wherever you want to put him and Wyatt Langford. You've got to play the guy every day. You can't make Evan Carter a platoon player. I get it if they want to do it a little bit out the gate this season, but maybe after the first month, if he's good, like take the reins off and just let the kid play ball. Don't platoon him. Don't make him only hit against righties. Play him every single day and just let him develop. I don't think that you can do, like I said, the on and off again thing with Leody, with Evan Carter, with another guy, maybe potentially. I just would like to see them make Evan Carter an everyday player. You don't make your number one or number two prospect a platoon player right out the gate. So that's what I'd like to see happen. I know some of y'all said trade Leody. I think that would help alleviate a little bit of what they've got going on, the center field conundrum. You would know, hey, we've got Carter, and now we can go get a guy that can maybe hit against lefties, right? And if you want to have a center fielder that can spell Evan Carter, that can actually hit lefties well, you have that option. If you keep Leody and Evan Carter, you've got two guys that you basically said are unplayable against lefties. Unless you're taking the approach that I just said, which is, hey, Evan Carter is our number one, number two prospect. We're just going to play the guy every day. Keep going here. Appreciate it. Won't get much for Duran, unfortunately. Gary, I tend to agree with you. I think Duran's a guy maybe you throw in, hey, he's major league ready. He's a good bench player, utility guy, but definitely probably not a centerpiece or anything like that. But maybe a little bit of a throw-in, a guy that you can get off of the 40-man roster. I think Leody's the same way. There was a lot of interest, apparently, at the trade deadline for Leody Taveras. And I said last night when we did the Evo emergency right on Rangers Live, I said, look, somebody can take Leody. If there's a team that wants Leody that bad, please take him off our hands. I'll gladly take the prospects that you're willing to give. You can have Leody. I have enjoyed watching Leody play over the past 4 seasons. He's had some very nice moments with the Rangers, made some great plays out in the outfield, hit a big home run off Justin Verlander in the 2023 playoff run in the ALCS. Like, Leody's had some great moments, but you just have not seen Leody pop, be anything more than about a 225, 230 hitter. For me, I've seen what I need to see. And I know CY said that Leody's got to take that next step, and it appears that he's probably going to be a part of the 2025 plans, but I'd personally like to see them move on from him. We keep going. They have to try to trade to get bullpen help, or that starting rotation won't do anything. I do think that they have to continue to add bullpen pieces. You added Jacob Webb. You've got to fill out more pieces, though. Absolutely. I got to think that's the next priority for Fenstermaker and Chris Young. Got to think that that's going to be what they turn to next. We'll see. But clearly, the Rangers need to add some pieces bullpen-wise. Let's go to relief pitchers. Right now, I'm on MLB.com just pulling up all of the free agents by position. So let's look at some relief pitchers. So Tanner Scott, actually a free agent. I know I said misspoke and said that the Rangers would have to trade for him. Tanner Scott is actually a free agent. So this is a guy that played for Skip Schumacher, who's now in the Rangers front office. You feel like the Jake Berger, Skip Schumacher connection was a thing. Might the Tanner Scott, Skip Schumacher connection be a thing as well? He had a 4.5 WAR last year as a relief pitcher. That's very impressive. Tanner Scott, I definitely feel like is a guy that the Rangers would love to have. I know Jeff Hoffman has gotten thrown around a little bit, as well as a name the Rangers might be up for pursuing. Chris Martin, I know he's up there in age, still had a 2.5 WAR last year. Chris Martin, another name. And then there's a long list of guys. AJ Minner is another one we talked about. There's maybe a couple other names that you might recognize. Of course, all the Rangers guys are still free agents. You have Andrew Chafin, free agent. Leclerc is still a free agent. And then David Robertson and Kirby Yates have yet to sign as well. But the names that I mentioned are the guys that have the highest WAR among free agents. So Tanner Scott, Jeff Hoffman, David Robertson is third among relief pitchers, free agent relief pitchers for WAR with 3.1. Chapman and Clay Holmes were next. Kenley Jansen is still available. We just talked about Chris Martin. Estevez, who was an Angels closer for a while, he's available. So there's some names out there. Kirby Yates, 1.8 WAR. Jose Leclerc, 1.7 WAR. So we'll see. I think that the bullpen, though, has got to be a priority. You've got Evo, right? You got Berger. And now I think you turn your attention to the bullpen. Garrett Crochet traded to the Red Sox. I think some of y'all were wondering, would the Rangers maybe make a move to try and get Garrett Crochet? You had Nate Lowe. You had, Ezekiel Duran, Leote. Could maybe they be a potential trade piece in a Garrett Crochet deal? Red Sox beat us to the punch there, unfortunately. I would have liked to have Garrett Crochet. Young arm. I know there was a little weird drama with him. Like, if I get traded, I'm not going to pitch in the postseason. Like, that was, I think, Garrett Crochet's agent last year. Didn't love that. Maybe it was a little overblown, but Garrett Crochet going to be a Boston Red Sox next year. Keep going. Why not re-sign Yates? Yates was amazing. Look, here's my only thing with Yates. The arm has got a lot of miles on it, and you had a guy that literally had his best season, and it was a little bit, I think, of an anomaly. I know he's had some good years with the Padres, especially. Like, he was pretty dominant with the Padres. This was back in like 2018, 2019. He had a 2.14 ERA, but 2018, 2019 is 5 years ago, like 5-6 years ago. He had a 5.14 ERA with Atlanta in 2022, only pitched 9 games, a 3.28 ERA for Atlanta. I don't think Kirby Yates is going to be falling off the face of the earth. I don't think Kirby Yates is going to be terrible next year. Don't get me wrong. My point is, do you want to pay a guy like Kirby Yates, who's going to be 38 next year, do you want to pay him $12 million when you could go get a Tanner Scott, who's 30 years old and had a really good season, when you could go get an AJ Minner type, who's like 31 years old and had a really good season last year? I would just prefer to get a little bit younger and not invest double-digit annual salary into a 38-year-old pitcher that had an outstanding season. Was 8th in Cy Young voting last year, by the way, if you didn't know that about Kirby Yates, all-star. But might be hard to duplicate. 1.17 ERA, I just think that's going to be really hard for Kirby to duplicate. That's just me. I love Kirby Yates. I love David Robertson. There's no hate. Absolutely none. but I would just prefer to invest my money in younger relief pitchers, especially if you're going to go into the 10, 11, $12 million range. Let me keep going. Yeah, JJ wanted Crochet as well. Gary, I agree with you about Leclerc. I think he needs a change of scenery. He's probably going to go and have an outstanding year with whoever picks him up. Like, I'm just not going to be shocked. I think he's probably going to go catch on with somebody and like have a sub-3 ERA season. Like, that's just how it goes with the pitchers that the Rangers let go. You know it does. That's just how it goes. So I would not be shocked, Gary, at all. Appreciate all the comments, by the way, my friend. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Leclerc goes somewhere and actually has a pretty good year. And look, Jose Leclerc, I know that the optics on Leclerc's 2024 was that he sucked and was terrible for us. He actually had some really good stretches, and the numbers aren't terrible, but he just melted down in a number of big moments last year. And I think it's just hard to get the bad taste out of our mouths as fans. But objectively, if you just look at his stats, he really didn't have a terrible year. It just happened that in big moments, he really, really blew it at times. So, look, I'm not going to be shocked if he goes on and has a really good season with whoever picks him up next. Spores and Burke being healthy is key for the Rangers. I like both of them. Gary agreed. I'm a little bit worried about Sporsy. I was reading something like, did Josh Spores sacrifice his shoulder for a 2023 World Series ring? Like, he was pitching hurt basically in 2023 in the playoffs. And did he somehow do like permanent damage to that shoulder? I don't know how on point the article was, so the sourcing, all that stuff. But somebody, whoever it was, I can't keep track of it all, y'all, but they were basically musing like, did Josh Spores do permanent damage to the shoulder pitching injured in 2023? Like, just couldn't really rationalize, like, why on earth else would this dude have so many injuries in 24? Talking about Josh Spores, of course, the guy that was on the mound for the Rangers as they closed out the 2023 World Series. I surely hope Sporsy has a much better year in terms of health in 2025. Definitely was nice to have him when we did last year, but he just could not stay on the field. Speaking of that 2023 ring, I got about halfway through that documentary on Amazon Prime, the Rangers 2023 World Series doc. Really, really was fun just reliving some of those memories. I know I've mentioned it multiple times, but I made it to game one of that World Series. It was a lifelong dream of mine to go to a World Series game, and I wanted it to be a Rangers game. So my first ever World Series game was game one of the 2023 World Series, and what a game it was. I'm not going to go on and on about it. Y'all know what happened, but Corey Seager's ninth inning blast, and then Adolis Garcia's walk-off homer in the 11th. The best game I've ever witnessed live in my life, and it was a lot of fun reliving it on Amazon Prime, watching that Rangers doc. I'm probably going to go finish it right before I go to bed after the show is over. Would highly recommend it. I think you can rent it for like $5. I ended up buying it for like 12 or 13, whatever. 2023 might be the only year the Rangers win it. I'm not taking it for granted. I hope it's not, but I'm not taking it for granted. I'm going to enjoy every single thing that they produce out of that 2023 World Series, and I suggest you do the same. So add it to the watch list. Go watch that 2023 Rangers World Series documentary on Amazon Prime. Let me keep going. What do I think of Berger coming to town? Charlie did talk about that earlier, but I like the Berger move. I think 63 homers in your last two seasons. I'll take that. A guy that's averaging over 30 homers his last 2 years. You got to love that. Now, Berger is not a great on-base guy. I think the OBP was slightly over 300. So this isn't a guy that is going to be at the level that Nate Lowe is at in terms of getting on base. Nate Lowe had like a 360 OBP. So my conclusion was I like the move. I think Berger should do a lot of DHing for us. Spell Josh Young, spell Nate Lowe occasionally at the corner positions. But I really don't want to see them dump Nate Lowe in a trade and then make Berger the everyday guy at first base. It would be a downgrade defensively. We know Nate Lowe is a Gold Glover over there at the first base bag. And we know that Nate Lowe, he definitely isn't as flashy of a first baseman as he'd like, but we did the career look at Nate Lowe. Nate Lowe is a consistent player, whether you love it or hate it. I'm going to read you Nate Lowe's stats over the last 4 years for the Rangers. So in 21, he goes 18 bombs, 72 RBI. 2022, 27 homers, 76 RBI. This is Nate Lowe. 23, he goes 17 homers, 82 RBI. 24, he goes 16 homers, 70 RBI. I mean, this guy is good for 16 homers and 70 RBI every season. And I know that you want a little bit more pop out of your first baseman, but shoot, like at least the guy's consistent. Like you know what you're getting out of him. You know you're going to get Gold Glove defense, and you know you're going to get at least 70 RBI out of the man every single year. The OBP, by the way, this is kind of scary how consistent it is. Here are his OBP numbers, Nate Lowe's, his last 4 years. 357, 358, 360, 361. So climbing steadily every year. Dude's good for about 20 bombs, 75 RBI, and a 360 OBP. I guess that's not bad. Like, that's nothing to turn your nose up at. Would I love a first baseman that consistently gives me 25 to 30 homers and 100 RBI? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would love that. Don't know if the Rangers are going to be able to get it. Like Christian Walker might be able to give you that. Pete Alonso could probably give you that, but you're way overpaying for him. I'd rather have Nate Lowe than Pete Alonso when you factor in the money. I mean, if money's not involved, sure. Like Pete Alonso, I'd probably take Pete over Nate Lowe if money wasn't a factor. But money is a factor. Pete Alonso is going to get paid over probably $20 million a year. Nate Lowe's going to be right around $10 million. I think that's a bargain for a guy that gives you a 360 OBP and drives in about 75 runs every year. Keep going. Appreciate all the comments, by the way. Yeah, still gives me the chills too, JJ, that whole 2023 season, 100%. Evan Carter, I'm seeing how is Evan Carter as a question coming through. So I think EC is going to be ready for spring training. Last I heard in the exit interviews, they fully expect Evan Carter back. I think that's really everybody. So unless there's some kind of hitch in the recovery process, I think we're going to see everybody back for spring training, which is awesome. I mean, we just need to stay healthy this year. That was a big reason why the Rangers struggled in 2024. They couldn't stay healthy. I just could not stay healthy. So big factor, big factor, I think, in the Rangers' success in 2025. Are they going to be able to keep guys on the field? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's keep going. I'll keep running through rumors and different things like that I've seen. There are a couple of people in MLB media picking Rangers for the 2025 AL West Division champ. I think the Rangers have a really good shot at taking back the division. It's been a while since they claimed it. They didn't claim it in 23, the World Series year. Astros had the tiebreaker over us. And of course, the Astros win the division last year. There are a number of people picking the Rangers for the 2025 AL West title. I can see it happening. I think the Astros are going to be good, but I said this last week, I think, like for as bad as the Rangers felt at different times last year, like it was August and they still had a shot. Like it was August and the Rangers had been ho-hum to bad almost all season. And yet there they were, like 7 games out. Like if they would have caught fire in August and September, you know, like a couple other teams did, they could have made it. I think that is the silver lining, is as bad as the Rangers were last year, they really weren't that far out of it for the AL West. The wild card was scary good and super competitive last year, but I do think the silver lining is it was late August and the Rangers weren't totally out of it. Like you were still holding on to hope. So I do think that the Rangers are a decent bet for bouncing back and winning the AL West this year. We keep going. Appreciate all of you guys. I'll try and go through a couple of other offseason options, free agent moves, possible trade pieces, all that good stuff. And I'll keep taking comments and questions. I'll check YouTube a little bit here. Natalie, let's see. Agree. It's time for Carter to take over center field. 100%. I think Carter needs to be an everyday guy. Take the reins off him after you've assured that he's 100% healthy. Stop making Evan Carter a platoon player. I don't want to see Evan Carter continue to be used as a platoon guy that only plays against righties. Agreed on this as well. Bullpen is super young. I think they are going to have to rely on some young guys, but I hope they're able to go out and get some solid veterans, just like they did last year with Kirby Yates and David Robertson. Go out there, get a couple vets that can anchor things down. I do think CY is going to get it done. Former pitcher, I got to believe that he is going to make sure that the bullpen is solid. He was a starter, knows how frustrating it is when you're a starting pitcher and you pitch a gem and you turn it over to a crap bullpen. So I think CY is going to do Evo and DeGrom and company a solid and go round out a good bullpen. I do. Keep going here. Let's see. Rumor of using Rocker as a closer. I really don't think that they're going to be making him and putting him in that box. I know he's got closer stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if he really develops in the postseason, you see him in some high leverage situations if he's not a starting pitcher. We'll see how it goes as a starter for Kumar Rocker. But if he's not in the starting rotation and we have him in the bullpen, he absolutely, I think, will be used in high leverage because of the stuff he has, the nasty curveball slider that he's got. I mean, he is a swing and miss pitcher. So I definitely think it's not like an out of left field idea, but I struggle to think that they're going to just fire him into the closer role. I think it would have to be a slowly developing thing. Hey, he did pretty well as a starter. Now we're in the postseason. We really don't need him as a starter in the postseason. We've got Evo, we've got DeGrom, maybe Cody Bradford. You've got those three guys as kind of your pillars. And then you've got the luxury of moving some guys to the pen. But I don't think that they're going to be straight up, hey, to start the season, Kumar Rocker, you're out in the bullpen. Is the Astros dynasty coming to an end? I'm really curious to see what they end up doing. I saw that they're thinking about trading Kyle Tucker. Did y'all see that? Astros are in talks with the Cubs to trade away Kyle Tucker. I don't know. I don't know if I get that move. I know that they're going to have to be paying some players here pretty quick. They lost Kikuchi, who they acquired from the Blue Jays mid-season. Looks like they're going to be losing Alex Bregman. I do think the Astros are going to find ways to reload, but I think that the Astros are definitely going to be a team that the Rangers can beat in 2025. Look, they had their moments in the 24 season. We had a couple of really great series against the Astros. The Astros definitely feel gettable at this moment in time. They flamed out in the postseason last year, much to my delight and probably all y'all's delight as well. I do think the Astros are going to make some moves here, but I think that they are definitely going to be a team that can be beat and that the Rangers can beat for the AL West title. Healthy is key for us. JJ, 100%. Our roster up and down is the best in our division compared to the other teams. I do agree. And I think a lot of MLB pundits agree as well. The Rangers have a very, very talented roster. And I do think top to bottom, you've got the best team in the AL West. Now, are they going to play like it? That is the question. And are they going to stay healthy? Do I think we get Sasaki? I'm going to say no, just because there's so many teams out there, but I do think that there's a shot. I'm going to keep my expectations very, very low on Roki Sasaki unless some really good insider information comes my way or I read about from the Rangers beat writers. I think everybody's basically saying, who knows at this point? Like there's a shot, there's a chance, but I'm going to say no and keep my expectations low. And then when we officially sign Roki Sasaki, I'm going to get on here and be out of my mind elated. That would be a huge move. That would be like the cherry on top of the offseason if we can get Sasaki. Trading Kyle Tucker, I don't know why the Astros are interested in doing that. Like, I really don't get it. But if you want to, go ahead. Kyle Tucker is an outstanding player. Like an outstanding player. I don't know if y'all remember that, but he had some like really weird injury stuff that was going on last year. Like he fouled a ball off of himself in like BP and like missed a bunch of time. I don't know. It was weird. But look, Kyle Tucker, I think, is an outstanding player. I was really shocked to see that the Astros are willing to or trying to deal him. So Kyle Tucker and Framber Valdez both are being made available right now. I'm reading a New York Times article. I don't know if it'll probably paywall me here in a second, I'm sure, but let me see. Club officials have announced at the winter meetings, Kyle Tucker and Framber Valdez and Brown, the general manager, said the Astros are willing to listen on anybody. Setup man Ryan Presley as well. So it's beginning to feel pretty realistic that they're going to trade him at any point, Kyle Tucker, this offseason. The Yankees and the Cubs are the most aggressive suitors for Kyle Tucker. Hey, look, I don't know. Are they going rebuild? Is that what's going on here? I did not think the Astros would be trying to do any kind of rebuild, but my goodness. All right. Keep going. Grade the trade with the Marlins and Webb pickup. So for the trade with the Marlins, I mean, look, I don't want to pretend to be an expert on the prospects that the Rangers traded away. I mean, any of us can look at a prospect list, but I will say this. The consensus around Major League Baseball is that the Marlins didn't get enough. And that's good enough for me. And I got to tell you guys, you may disagree with me, but here is my mentality. If you have an opportunity to get a guy that is going to be able to help you immediately, if you're in win now mode, yes, there are prospects that pop, and there are prospects that you look back on and you're like, man, I wish we wouldn't have traded that guy away. I mean, I can think of a number of Rangers prospects that have got traded away. You think about Emmanuel Clase, you think about Kyle Hendricks, right? He got traded away. Like, there are some prospects the Rangers have traded away that have gone on to do special things, but there are a ton of Rangers prospects that have gotten traded away that have gone on to do basically nothing. My mindset is it's hard to be really elite in Major League Baseball. If you have a chance to get a guy that is solid and can help you win now, I mean, look, there are exceptions, but the Rangers did not trade away anybody crazy. Max Acosta, probably the guy that stands out the most, just added to the 40-man roster. Max was not going to be a big-time factor for the Rangers, I don't think, at any point. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Sebastian Walcott, those are all guys that are going to be in the middle infield spots for a long time. Walcott probably in the next 2 or 3 years. Maybe Siegs moves to first base. I just don't think there was a super clear-cut role for Max Acosta. And then you've also got guys like the minor league pitchers. I forget the names. I'll see if I can look them up in that Burger deal. There were a couple of pitchers, Burger trade. Let's see what we got. I just don't think it's going to be anything crazy. So Rangers, number 17 prospect, Vargas, lefty, Brian Mendoza. These were not big-time top of the Rangers farm system guys. So I do think the consensus is, and my take is, the Rangers won that trade. They got a guy that's controllable as well. Burger is not a one-year rental. Burger is a guy that you have, I think, for the next 4 years is what I read. So Burger's a 30-homer guy. I mean, this guy has some pop. and Skip Schumacher got a firsthand look at him last year managing for the Marlins, I think the Burger trade's great. Jacob Webb, I think, is another really solid trade as well. Or not trade, but acquisition. I know they picked him up on a one-year deal. He's a guy that had a low 3 ERA last year. Clearly pitched for the Orioles in some big spots. Orioles were a really, really successful regular season team last year. So I think Jacob Webb is going to be a great 7th inning guy. Low 90s fastball, probably not a guy you want at the back end of the bullpen, but definitely a guy that's going to give you some depth, probably be able to help bridge to the 8th and 9th inning and the 6th and 7th innings. That's my take on those two acquisitions. Soto would have been great, but not for the price. For me, I don't think you want to spend that much money on Juan Soto. I actually think the Yankees are going to probably look back and be happy that they didn't unload the Brinks truck for Juan Soto. By the way, a little funny aside about the Juan Soto Yankees Mets saga. Did y'all read today, like I did, that a sticking point for Juan Soto choosing the Mets was that his family and he would be given a suite as a part of the deal that Juan Soto's family and friends can use for every home game? And the Yankees were just totally unwilling to give Juan Soto his own suite for his family because Aaron Judge doesn't have one. He has to pay for a suite for his family, and Derek Jeter never got a suite. So they said, nope, you're not getting your own suite, Juan Soto. And then Juan Soto went and signed with the Mets. Look, it's not just about the suite, I'm sure, but I think the Yankees ultimately, as funny as it is to kind of laugh about the whole suite debacle, I think that they're going to look back and be happy they didn't spend $765 million or whatever it is over the next 15 years. Let me keep going. John, what's up, my guy? Thanks for tuning in. John says, any news on Yates or Robertson? Really nothing on that front. I think that it's kind of a foregone conclusion among the Rangers media that those guys are not going to be back. So I'm just not going to be surprised if we don't retain either one of them. Personally, as much as I love Yates and Robertson, I'd really like to see the Rangers. And I know I've said this a couple of times for all y'all that have been hanging out with me for a while. So bear with me. But I've said I would rather the Rangers invest 10, 11, 12 million a year in an AJ Minter or a Tanner Scott, guys that are right around 30. They've got experience. I don't know if you want to dump 11, 12 million a year in guys that are almost 40 years old. I love Yates. I love Robertson. I think I've come to peace with them not being a part of the 2025 plans. Look, if they went out and signed Yates, it's not like I'm going to get on here, y'all, and be like, I hate the move. What are they thinking? Like, you're not going to get that reaction out of me. I can make anything solid or positive. Like those of y'all that have been watching me for a long time now throughout the last couple of seasons, you know, I can spin just about anything positively. It's one of my many gifts. But I will say this, if they did sign Robertson or Yates, you wouldn't get any complaints out of me, but I would be silently, secretly crossing my fingers that there would be no regression and that they would be able to be at least really close to what they were in 2024. For Kirby Yates, it's going to be hard to repeat. The dude had a sub 120 ERA. Kirby Yates did. Like, that's just not easy to repeat for any relief pitcher, let alone a guy that's going to be 38 before the 2025 season starts. Natalie says, I wonder if Robertson, is going to retire. I don't think that Robertson is going to hang him up. I think that he could have easily exercised that option that the Rangers and he had in the contract. It was a mutual option, but he decides to decline. You would only assume it's to go and get one last payday. We'll see what ends up happening with those two guys. Thanks for the comments. Appreciate the follows, by the way. I see a couple of people on TikTok especially have followed. If you're not following, not subscribed to the channel yet, would appreciate you hitting that follow or subscribe button. Stay up to date with all our latest and greatest content. Get notified every time we go live. Let's keep growing this good group of people we got talking ball, talking Rangers baseball. I love it. Look, I think Texas Sports King, what's up, my guy? Thanks for tuning in. If it's me, I don't know all the ins and outs of the negotiations, but I would have probably played for the Yankees. I'm not a Yankees fan by any means. In fact, don't like the Yankees at all. They're probably right behind the Astros in terms of teams that I hate and strongly dislike. But I will say, if I'm an MLB player, I probably want the legacy of playing with the Yankees. And if they were going to pay just a little bit under what the Mets were going to pay, I think you probably have more opportunities with the Yankees, more exposure, more branding. I don't know. I probably would have stayed with the Yankees, but that's sweet for Juan Soto's family. Apparently a real big deal. So, look, I can't hate Juan Soto for doing what works best for him, but I will say if it was me, probably would have stayed with the Yanks. Legacy, exposure, branding, more money-making opportunities. Look, the Mets are a pretty big franchise, but they're not the Yankees. So do I think we're going to move low? That's a question from John on YouTube. I think if we do move low, you've got to have a backup plan for first base. I don't think Berger can be your 162 game guy out there. I got tired of watching them sub in people when Nate Lowe was injured last year. I would really think if they're going to move low, you've got to have a backup plan. Bellinger, right? Maybe you go sign Christian Walker or you get Paul Goldschmidt on a couple-year deal, something like that. I just don't think that you can trade Nate Lowe and then run it with Berger the whole season. I just wouldn't want to see that. That's just my personal preference. I really don't know if it is for sure certain one way or another that the Rangers trade Lowe. I think that they're just exploring a lot of different options. I'm sure they're listening on Lowe. I'm sure they're listening on Tavares and Duran. There's not any kind of concrete feel, though, Nate Lowe's absolutely getting traded. Tavares is definitely getting traded. There's really nothing like that I've seen, but I'll continue to keep my ear to the ground. We'll see what happens. Realistic take on Sasaki is they have a chance. I don't think anybody really knows, but we know Sasaki was a big Yu Darvish fan, probably watched a lot of baseball, Rangers baseball in the early 2010s. We know that Sasaki doesn't necessarily want to go play for a big market team. And look, with how travel works today, I know a lot of people think the Japanese players want to play on the West Coast. Look, you can get a flight to Tokyo from the DFW airport. Like, you can get a flight to Tokyo from basically any major city. So I really don't think that the West Coast appeal is that big of a deal in all this. And I think his agent pretty much said the same. Like, it's not a thing like, oh, you have to play in the Bay Area or in LA or in San Diego because that's the closest in proximity to Japan. Come on, it's like an extra couple hours in the air. Whatever, you're in first class sleeping. What do you care? So I don't think that the West Coast thing is really that big of a deal. I think the Rangers have a good shot. They sent CY over there. I don't think that every GM from every team went over to personally watch Roki Sasaki. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I find it hard to believe that every GM went over to Japan and personally watched Roki Sasaki pitch. We know CY did. He was on a plane and went to Tokyo for, I think, about a week. And he watched Sasaki throw, I think, in a couple of games. I think that definitely tells you that the Rangers are, first of all, pretty serious about signing him. And you would think that means something to Sasaki and his camp. I can't put a percentage on it, but I got to think that they have a shot. You're saying there's a chance. That's where I think they're at this point. Thanks for the follows, by the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Homeboy33, appreciate the follow. Yeah, JJ, totally agreed. Like, the DFW airport, you can fly basically anywhere from there. It's a freaking huge place, like one of the best airports. So I think the whole got to play on the West Coast if you're a Japanese player, so you're close to Japan. Well, you're adding 2 hours probably at most flying from DFW to Japan versus LA to Japan. So I don't think it's a big factor. Seager and Bellinger reunion, that'd be fun. And another guy we talked about, I don't think he's going to be a factor anymore now that we got Berger. I kind of wondered, because Justin Turner and Corey Seager are such good friends, I kind of wondered if maybe JT would want to come and play for the Rangers. Maybe we would use him as that DH type player. But I got to say, I like the Berger move. I like the 30 bombs a year. Justin Turner, I really do, and have enjoyed watching him play the game. But I think that it's probably good that they got Berger. I don't think JT is going to be a name that they really consider anymore. Christian Walker would be great. If you trade Nate Lowe, please sign Christian Walker, or please sign a Goldschmidt type to a couple-year deal and have a backup. I don't want Berger at first base all 162. I just don't. You got to have a guy that can play at least somewhat at the level that Nate Lowe can out in the field defensively. Like Nate Lowe, you're getting the best of the best defensively. I don't know if you're going to be able to replace that if you trade him, but you got to at least get a guy that's in the ballpark, like somewhat close. Nolan Arenado is a guy that is getting thrown out there a lot right now in the offseason and trade talks. The Rangers not on his list of teams to be traded to, though. I can't remember the list off the top of my head, but I was a little surprised, man. Why wouldn't you have the Rangers on there? New stadium, great players, great lineup. I was a little surprised, but you know what? Everybody's got their reasons. But I don't think Nolan Arenado is going to be an option. Josh Young, third base, locked down. I mean, maybe Arenado could DH, but I think that Arenado is probably going to make his way out of St. Louis, if I had to guess. We'll see where he ends up. Hopefully just out of the AL West. Like, please don't go to Houston or Seattle or any team like that. I don't know what his list was exactly. Maybe I'll be able to figure it out. Arenado trade list. Let's see what we got here. So he narrowed his trade wish list down to 6 teams. And the teams were, come on now. What do we got here? The Dodgers, Padres, and Angels. This is Arenado's trade wish list. Phillies, Mets, Red Sox. I don't know. I guess that list is okay. Seems like maybe it's a little geographical, right? I mean, he's got all those California teams in there, and then he's got all the East Coast teams. I don't know. Not going to be a Ranger, but, you know, we'll throw his name out there in the trade talks. Keep going. Yates' return would be celebrated. No doubt. Like, Yates returning would be huge. I mean, I would love it. You're not going to see me be negative about it at all. But I just don't think that they should make the move. I think you're probably wiser investing that money into an AJ Minter, Tanner Scott, somebody who's a little bit younger, a little bit less tread on the tire, a little more tread on the tire, I should say. And I think that they're probably going to move on from Robertson and Yates, if I had to guess, unless Kirby Yates is willing to take a super friendly deal, a super team friendly deal. Someone says y'all overpaid for Evaldi. I don't think so. The starting pitching market is pretty crazy right now. I don't think so. What you're paying for with Evo is the 2.80 postseason ERA. Like, no, the regular season, I think he was at like 375-ish was Nate Evaldi. But you have to take a lot into consideration. The Rangers were having a bad year. I know it's easy to pretend like these guys are robots, but you have to think that the season that the Rangers were having probably weighed mentally on a lot of guys. I think that when you come out the gate fresh in 25 with everybody healthy, I think it's just going to be a total page turn and a lot different of a year than it was in 2024. I think the injuries and all of that terrible, terrible bad news that the Rangers got at the beginning of 2024 just really weighed heavily. Dark cloud over the team, I felt like, the entire 2024 season. You lost Evan Carter. You lost Josh Young. I mean, they had to overcome a lot. And the fact that they even made it interesting in July and August, like at the All-Star break, the Rangers were like 2 games out of a playoff spot. Like, the fact that they overcame all that and still made it competitive, I mean, look, you got to tip your cap to him, but there was just a dark cloud over the club with all those injuries mounting up for a long, long time. And I'm hopeful that now that you've got everybody back healthy, 25 can be a great reset and the Rangers can get back to October baseball and hopefully reclaiming that AL West title for the first time in a while. Gio, what's up, man? It's been a while. Thanks for tuning in. Go Rangers. Hopefully the Rangers have a healthy bullpen this upcoming year. Couldn't agree more. Gio, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by and for your comment. Appreciate it. All right, y'all. I think I'm going to wrap things up for now. What do I think of Corbin maybe going to the Giants? Corbin Burns, I'm really curious to see where he ends up. I think the Giants are definitely appearing to be in the market to improve the club. We'll see. But you would kind of think that he is going to make his way to a club here pretty soon. Now that some of these pieces are falling, Max Fried deal, Evo deal, you got to think some of the big name pitchers are probably going to be starting to sign some deals. If the Rangers do anything else special, we will definitely hop on, do another emergency live if we need to. I'd be happy to. I would love for the Rangers to make another big splash. We'll see. Jaybird, as a Yankee fan, y'all got a good one in Higgy. I'm excited about Higashioka. I think it's going to be great having him to split time with Jonah Heim. So I'm excited about the move as well. Yes, sir. Appreciate all y'all. Thanks for all the comments. Thank you for all the follows, the likes. Appreciate you guys so much. If you know somebody that's a big Rangers fan, big Major League Baseball fan, I would love if you would share one of my videos with them. If you're on TikTok, share the live with them. I'll hang out for a little bit longer. Let's keep growing this good group of people we got talking Rangers ball, talking Major League Baseball in general. I so much am very grateful for all the interaction. Helps keep the show fresh. I can go on forever and ever, but I love seeing what you guys have to say, answering the questions. So thank you again. And I hope y'all have a great rest of the week. No college football this week, except for, I believe, that Army-Navy game, right? But NFL will be back on Sunday talking Cowboys football. Cowboys season kind of turning out like the Rangers season did, unfortunately. But we are here, rain or shine, as you know. Whether we win or lose, we don't hide. We're here. Painfully sometimes talking about all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, especially our teams from the Metroplex where I grew up. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Maybe see you back on Sunday or perhaps next week, Wednesday, for our next Rangers offseason show. And we will be sure to hop on if the Rangers do anything else crazy exciting. I don't know if we'll hop on for, acquiring some AA minor leaguer. But if the Rangers make a big splash, we will be here to celebrate the move with you guys. Thank you again for choosing Right On Rangers for all of your Texas Rangers content. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.